All right, on to something else.
All right.
All right. We kind of, you and I discussed this a little bit earlier, and I kind of wanted to talk about it tonight on the show.
Okay.
Our friends over there at the Decibel Geek podcast, they want to put on a pod expo in Nashville.
Yes.
It's called Rockin' Pod.
Right.
All right. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I just found out about this through you, and then Chris, not you, Chris, but Chris,
Decibel Geek Chris.
Yes, Decibel Geek Chris emailed me to kind of give me the info on it.
Sure.
And I haven't really made up my mind on this at all.
Okay.
Because I just don't know how this would all play out.
Okay.
But I thought maybe I'd bring it up on the show, and people who listen to us might have some input or have some thoughts or whatever.
Yeah, that's fine.
And anyway, the idea here, I guess, now maybe you should preface this, because I still don't get the whole premise of what this is about.
Well, what he's trying to do is he's trying to start a, like a get-together type of a deal where people that do podcasts, almost like a radio. Remember the old radio clinics that you used to do? Or we didn't do them, but, that were available, like the CMJ and whatnot.
Okay.
Where you'd get DJs and shit from all over the country would come together, and there'd be panels, and you could promote your shit and whatnot, promote your show and that type of thing. Well, that is the basic premise, is that you're going to have podcasters from all over the country coming to Nashville to promote their podcast, promote their shows. From what I understand, there's going to be like a music thing where you can, like a vinyl thing where you can buy vinyl and sort through vinyl. So there's going to be some sort of a records show as well.
Okay.
As part of this thing. There's going to be, in addition to podcasters, there's going to be like famous producers, and some famous musicians have agreed to be part of this, or have tentatively agreed to be part of this. So it's going to be a little bit of podcasters will be there, and there'll be, the ability to buy music, and there'll be the ability to meet, some famous producers and some famous musicians, and all in on this one day. Okay. That's what it's looking like.
All right. Well, according to Chris's email to me, he says, hey, Neeley, a lot of us have talked over the years about having a get-together of shows in a location. That idea may be coming to fruition if this works out. You were invited to this group because we'd love to have your involvement in this expo that celebrates rock and rock podcasting. Okay. Now, and I'm not making any disparaging comments here, but how do you celebrate rock and rock podcasting? How do you celebrate that?
Well, I mean, it's by promoting the shows.
Well, who are you promoting it to? That's my question.
Well, and again, I think the thing with the record store part of it, or the music element of it, is going to draw people in. And then when the people are in, then, they can get exposed to your show.
Okay.
That's my hunch. That's what I think.
All right. Well, see, and again, this is just my viewpoint, and I may be way off base here, but that's a very, I'm going to pronounce this the way that I've heard it, but it's not how I normally say it, but it's a niche market.
Right.
And it's a very small market. I don't know who would show, and again, I could be way off, I'm just imagining this, but who goes to a convention and go, man, these podcaster guys are here and I want to hear what they have to say?
Well, they may not come for that, or some may. I would think that, we'll draw 2 or 3 people. I would think that Michael Butler will draw 2 or 3 people. Decibel Geek will draw some people.
Sure.
I would think that some people will come, but I think that in my head, the big thing has to be the other people. The big thing has to be, like, I've seen the name Max Norman kicked around a little bit. I don't know if he's involved or not, but if he's involved, I could see some Megadeth people coming out.
Okay.
To get Max Norman to sign their copy of whichever albums he did. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I could see that. And if there's performances, if whoever from Tom Kiefer or somebody was to show up and play an acoustic set or something.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm throwing names. I'm not in the planning committee of this. I cannot go. The date I cannot make.
All right.
But I could see if there was some musicians playing and whatnot, and and it was a cheap or an affordable or a free ticket. Why not?
Okay. Well, I'm just asking the question. I don't know all the answers here. Mm-hmm. So anyway, the idea is to crowd fund this event to cover the cost of the venue, the setup, the teardown, and to cover travel expenses of out-of-town show hosts that need help to be able to participate.
Right.
Okay, I know crowdfunding is a very popular way of people raising money these days for various causes.
Mm-hmm.
All shows will have a table on the wall of the main room with a horseshoe of tables for record memorabilia dealers in the center. So this is like one of the meeting rooms or whatever at a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And then the podcasters are lined up around the walls, and the record dealers are in the middle of this room, I guess.
Sure.
We have a separate room with a stage, a PA, and seats in front of the live podcasting session throughout the day, and for use of a couple of the live bands in the evening. I'm attaching a quick diagram that I came up with. So basically, I guess the podcasters are supposed to broadcast live from this event?
You can.
Well, I'm asking the question. I don't know. I'm just that's the idea, is that you're supposed to sit there at your table and yammer along there, say, "Hey, I'm down here in Nashville at the podcasters convention."
Yeah.
And then what?
Do your show.
Okay. Just again, I'm asking the question.
Yeah.
Another aspect would be a table in each corner to use for signings. A lot of classic rock guys live here, and I'm looking to see if I can arrange a few signing sessions with whatever money they charge to be there to keep. So, see, this is where I have a problem with this, and maybe that's not even the right word. I have a question about it, not a problem, a question about it.
All right.
So you have these, guys who have some notoriety, some fame. They come out, they do signings. Mm-hmm. So do people who come out, because you mentioned like a Tom Kiefer.
Mm-hmm.
Or what was the producer's name?
Max Norman.
Max Norman. They come out. Now, are people coming out because they're interested in podcasting and aside from that, they might get an autograph from one of these guys, or are they coming out for these guys and they might casually venture over and say, "Oh, what do you guys do?" "Well, we talk on a microphone over here." And they go, "Cool. All right, thanks." And then they go about their business.
I'm going to guess on this, and I'm going to guess that you are slightly undervaluing.
Well, see, that's why I'm asking the question, because I don't know.
I mean, we have 3 million listens or downloads or whatever.
True.
So someone's listening to it.
That's not even a question.
And more than some, a lot are listening to it.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of fans. And, if there's 100 near Nashville and it's a $10 ticket and they're music fans that also buy music, why wouldn't they come? It's their chance to You know, I mean, how many times have me and you talked about that we're surprised that people want to take a fucking picture with us?
Yeah, but the thing is they're not paying for it. It just be happenstance that they happen to be at the same venue as you. And, hey, I ran into this guy and I grabbed a picture. But are they going to venture out for $10 a head or whatever for that privilege of rubbing elbows?
Wouldn't you pay $10 if you were in? I know you. If there was a record show for $10 to go to the record show, it's $10 to get in. They had a bunch of albums that vinyl that you could pick through, whatever. And Mayor, fuck, if I don't die, Mayor Applebaum was there, also signing shit. You wouldn't go for $10?
Well, the thing is, I am a vinyl fan and I do enjoy record shows and stuff, but am I going there for the record show or am I going because it's a podcaster convention?
Oh, it's kind of both.
Okay, but my point is what is the draw? What is the draw? What would is it because they're calling this a pod expo?
Well, some of the draw will be the podcasting, and some of the draw will be the music. It's going to be a little of both.
Sure. Okay. I'm hoping again. I'm hoping that will be agreeable and will allow me to use their name to help advertise the event. Okay. So here that's my question. It's just like, okay, so you get a bunch of people who do a popular podcast in a room, and they have name brand, and I'm just going to use a cliche term here, rock stars. And you got a record expo where maybe there's some vinyl collectors. So why don't you just do a vinyl show with some rock stars showing up?
Well, there's that.
I mean, but see, and again, I'm not making fun of this premise at all. I'm just trying to understand it. I'm just trying to get the gist of how this all comes together, because it looks like you're having to throw out a lot of cheesecake in order to get people to pay attention to you, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, it is the first one.
I get it. Believe me.
See, Nathan would pay $10 to meet me. Oh.
So anyway, he goes on, for this to reach its funding goal. And see, this is the other thing. It's just like, if this isn't in, I'm not being critical here. I just want to make that very clear. I'm not being critical. I'm questioning the premise here. If this requires you to fund this, no matter where you're getting the money from, whether it's crowdfund or taking it out of your own pocket, if this is not a commercially viable thing to where sponsors and advertisers want to get involved, what's the point in doing it?
Well, and I'm not necessarily disagreeing with that part. I get what Chris is trying to do here. I really do. I probably would have done it a little bit differently. I would have done it for 2018 and figured out all that stuff.
Yeah, see, and I read this and it's just like, well, wait a minute. Why are we not, and I'm using the term we, and I don't mean we as in me personally. I'm talking about, why are we as podcasters raising and spending money to hold this thing? What is the end result, I guess? What do we want to get out of this?
I'm guessing exposure, because you get the exposure to everybody else.
Yeah, but with specifically Nashville, though. I mean, people are not going to travel hundreds of miles because this event is going on.
No.
So it's going to be it's going to be a very local thing.
Unless the name guys for the rock side of it are of the right, of the right ilk.
Well, see, here's where I have questions.
Okay.
You and I did a very lengthy discussion a few weeks ago about the Loudon Lima.
Sure.
And we discussed about whether it's going to be a success or whether it's going to be a bust.
Right.
And we determined that what's going to determine whether it's a success or a bust is how well this is promoted.
Sure.
And if this is being crowdfunded just to get the podcasters there and to rent the room and to pay these talent, the name guys to come down and sign a few autographs and take a few pictures and so on and so forth, how much money and time and effort is going to be spent in advertising this thing to where people even know about it?
Yeah. Well, but if all the podcasters do, then you're going to reach, 2 or 3 million people.
Specifically in Nashville.
Well, not in Nashville, but you're going to reach 2 or 3 million people.
Yeah, but the thing is what good does that do you if they're not in Nashville to participate in this?
Yeah.
Because you and I have discussed going to major events, i.e. concerts, and we have a limit as to how far we would travel to go to, see Metallica or go see Iron Maiden or somebody like that.
Yeah, 15 miles.
Yeah, that's it. So how many people within the Nashville area are going to go, oh, my God, there's a podcast convention going on there?
Yeah, I don't know.
See, that's why I have all these questions. And believe me, I want to support this, but I need to understand the premise and what the payoff is. Where's the payoff here? What is the ultimate goal here in doing this?
Right. Maybe we need to have Chris on the show.
Maybe so, but I kind of wanted to get, throw this out there to our fans who listen to us via whether it's our live stream or a podcast. And if there'd be any interest within our ranks to go, yeah, I'd go to that, or, sure, I'd travel to go see that, or I'd pay $10 to get in on this thing, or, I don't know. I don't think that'd be very interesting. I don't know.
Well, and maybe, and I guess it would vary from show to show as well, but maybe a part of the way that it could be done to get a payoff would be how you do your podcast too. Mm-hmm. Now, maybe me and you, let's just say that I could somehow get there, which that's whatever. It's probably not going to happen, but let's just say that maybe for $100, and if somebody comes and they could do an hour a show with the great Neeley. That might lure some people in.
Yeah, who knows? Well, anyway, he goes on. We're banking on the bulk of the attendees to come from our show's listenership. Now, I don't know anybody who would travel any distance because, hey, Neeley's going to be in Nashville. Holy shit, I'm going to go from Charlotte, North Carolina and drive over to Nashville. You know what I mean? I just don't envision that happening. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but I just don't see people doing that.
Right.
Any shortfall will hopefully see. There's just too many words in there that just, we're banking on this. Hopefully, we would like to think, all these other things. Any shortfall will be covered by tickets purchased by the public to access the record show and the signing tables. You see what I mean? So the draw is the tickets and the signing table. So where does the podcasters fall in?
I guess we're just there.
That's my point. We're close to working out an arrangement for a venue near downtown Nashville on Saturday, August 26th. The CMS was my first thought when this idea started to take shape. I appreciate that, Chris. Thank you. You guys have created something amazing, and it would be great to have you there. Please let me know what you think. Well, Chris, not you, Chris, but Chris from Decibel Geek, I would be happy to attend this, but I'm just like skeptical. Okay, I'm a skeptic, and I don't want that to dampen your thoughts and your plans and all this. I just need to understand what's the end game here.
Well, don't worry about that because he already put the down on the room. So.
Oh, okay. Well, but what's the end game? That's the point, because
I think I think you're looking for it to be a payoff, and I don't think
I'm not asking for any remuneration or anything. I just want to understand when you. And again, maybe Chris would be better to have on the show here. But when you first envision something like this, it's just like, it would be great to have Michael Butler and Neeley and Chris and, the guys from, what the hell? The guys from in your neighborhood over there.
Oh, Maximum Threshold.
Maximum Threshold and Red and Jerry. And, it would be great to have all these guys come down and hang out and have a little mixing board and whatever, and then it's just like, okay, and then what?
Yeah.
See, that's where I lose it right there. It's just like, okay, all these guys are in a room and they're here and they're, they have a following and they're podcasters and they're all in the same room, and there's Mark Slaughter over there, and then there's a whole record table thing going on, and it's great.
I can see both sides of it. I can see the positives of bouncing around from all the different podcasts and doing everybody's shows and whatnot. I can see that as a positive to expose to a bunch of different audiences. And that's regardless of if anybody comes. If nobody comes, you could still expose to other people's audience. So that part I see as a definite positive.
Okay.
The negative is, and I'll speak on the negative because we've done it. Trying to do 12 to 14 hours of programming is a fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
That is hard.
Sure.
I don't care how many guests you have. When we did what, 14 hours?
Yeah, at Nelson's Ledges.
But we gave like 4 or 5 of them to Red and Jerry.
We did.
So we did like 9 hours. And some of that was filled with music. But even with all that, I don't think I've ever been more tired than I was that day from radio.
And plus, I had to do all the technical shit.
Yeah, climbing up on the
putting a router on the roof of a
outhouse or something,
of a tool shed.
Yeah. But you remember how tired we were. Remember?
Of course, that was a long day.
At the end, we had the drunk guy. And I remember as soon as we were done with the drunk guy, Red said to me, he's like, I don't know where you got the energy to fuck with him.
Right.
Because he was like ready to pass the fuck out.
Sure.
And, we were tired that day. And that's the big negative to me is 14 hours or 12 hours or whatever. That's a long fucking day.
Yeah, and then my other question is that, well, he wants the podcasters to show up and do something. So does that mean I need to drag my own gear down there?
It sounds like it. Like
a mixing board and at least a laptop and some mics and a little portable setup.
Sounds like it. Yeah.
So not only are you traveling to get to this place, but then you're bringing like a mixing board and mics and computers and setup and all that kind of stuff.
And it's probably too far for you to drive. How many hours is that to Nashville?
Let's see here. From here to Louisville, Kentucky. That's a little over 200 miles away. So that's a 4-hour drive, and then another. Let's see. I'm going to say it's probably about 7 hours from here.
How far is it from here? About the same.
It's 500 miles from your house.
So 500 miles, 70 miles an hour. It's a long day.
It's about 8 hours.
That's a long drive.
It's about an 8-hour ride for you. When I used to drive a truck back in the 90s, I used to run FedEx out of Cleveland Hopkins and take it to Nashville, and that was 500 miles.
Now, the 26th is what day of the week? It's a Friday or Saturday?
I don't know. I didn't look at the calendar.
Let's look. August 26th. That's a Saturday. So we would have to leave on Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to stay overnight, probably do the show, stay overnight again, and drive home Sunday.
Mm-hmm. That's a lot.
You know, and again, I'm all for supporting this kind of stuff and participating and, you know, all that kind of stuff, but I just need to understand it more as to what the real premise is and what this will accomplish and, you know, what's the end game here. And I don't necessarily mean monetarily. I just mean, what is the end game?
Oh, I'll get Chris on the phone with you this week so that you guys can figure. Because I know for me, the 26th and that weekend and the weekend after are my two biggest weekends of the entire year for the museum. I have to be in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, well, but see, here's where I had an issue or a question. And again, I don't want to say it's an issue because I don't have a real problem with it. It's just I need to understand why something like this needs to be paid for to make it happen. Because what's the point in doing it if you have to put out this money to make that happen, to pay, you know, celebrities to show up or pay, you know, yeah, I get the payment for a room at a hotel. I get that part. Mm-hmm. But to pay for the podcasters to show and pay for celebrities to show up and pay for this and pay for that, well, where's the remuneration in that?
Yeah.
Is that because you're soliciting for sponsors? Are you inviting sponsors to come down and sponsor podcasts? Or see, I don't know. I don't get it.
Now that would be appealing if there's going to be people down there that like actually sponsor podcasts.
Yeah, but see, if you were marketing to those people, I would get it. Okay, but I didn't see any of that in that explanation at all.
No, well, and again, I think you probably need to talk to him.
Yeah. So are my questions valid, or am I just being a skeptical fuck and trying to throw a wrench into this?
I don't think you're being outlandish, really.
Okay, that's just the thoughts that went through my mind. So if any of you fans out there who listen to us have a thought on it, throw us your thoughts or an email or something over at request@theclassicmetalshow.com. I kind of, you know, and again, I don't want to sound like, you know, I'm an idiot. I just don't understand this, but I just don't understand it. I really don't. And I would like to further that along because, you know, the medium of podcasting or live streaming or whatever has given Chris and I a great outlet.
Right, sure.
And we both enjoy it immensely, but to have a convention per se, mm-hmm. I just don't get it unless you're marketing it to like somebody who could sponsor your show or something.
Right.
That's the only thing that I would say is like, well, we're holding this convention, but we're inviting all these sponsors to come down and maybe you could sign a deal with them or something.
Right.
That's how I look at it. But to sponsor a show just for the sheer fact that everybody will show up and then you got people signing autographs, you know, and selling records and stuff, I don't get that. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
No, it doesn't.
So that's the dilemma I'm in. So if anybody has any thoughts, give me your thoughts. request@theclassicmetalshow.com. I'd be happy to hear what you think.
Sure.
So would you show up to this? Would you go to Nashville? Say if you lived in Cooksville, Tennessee, or even Memphis, would you drive 200 miles and go, holy shit, these podcaster guys are going to be all in the same room at the same time?
See, if he has Max Norman, I would be interested, personally.
Okay. That's all subjective. But then again, how would you know if Max Norman was actually going to be there?
Because I'd hear it on all these podcasts.
Okay. See, that's my point. It's just like, well, how well can this crowdfunding sponsor some kind of advertising that this is actually happening.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that would be something that somebody should do, and I would volunteer to do it, is record a spot and just have all the podcasts use it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that would be something to start the ball rolling here.
Sure.
Get an Eventbrite or something, some kind of an account where you can sell tickets or something in advance and you know, do some kind of, let's get some, you know, it's already fucking middle of March.
Yeah.
You know, you got to get some money generating here.
I agree.